They look like they're winning. They look like they're thriving, posting, smiling, moving on. But what you don't see, what they don't show, is that God already started. You thought they got away with it. The manipulation, the gaslighting, the betrayal so cruel, it left you speechless, just trying to keep yourself from falling apart. They tore you down in private, but played innocent in public, smiled in your face while cutting into your spirit when no one was watching. They walked away guilt-free, almost proud, like they won. But don't get it twisted. Nobody escapes divine accountability. Not in this life, not in the next. God may be quiet, but he's never absent. His justice doesn't need drama to make an impact. It doesn't need to go viral. It just hits differently, deep, silent, soul level. When God starts moving, reclaiming what was abused, what was misjudged, what was mistreated, he does it in a way you feel in your gut. So while they're out here acting like life is amazing, what they can't fake is this. Karma is already at work, and it's not revenge. It's divine consequence. Here's how you know. The 5 sins, and sin 1, they act like they're happier than ever. But it's a mask, a full-blown performance. They'll smile like they've been set free, post like they've found peace. But their captions are carefully crafted scenes from a movie they're directing. Their social feeds? One big stage. Coffee shop selfies, beach photos, spiritual quotes, self-love, and fresh starts. But look closer. After all the lying, cheating, gaslighting, betraying, this is what they get? Applause, freedom, healing. If you're not grounded, it messes with your head. The enemy whispers, maybe they're better without you. Maybe it really was your fault. But the truth? That happiness isn't healing. That peace isn't peace. That glow? It's camouflage. This isn't transformation. It's survival mode wrapped in likes and fake joy. You were their covering, and they mocked it. They're not living in peace. They're just clinging to the last chapter they wrote, where they looked like the one who outgrew you. But hear this. No one walks away from a love that was covered in prayer and lands in peace. Not when the love they walked away from was soaked in grace. Not when it was pure. You weren't just someone. You were a shelter. You were a spiritual shield. You were the ones standing in the gap for their soul when they didn't even know they were under attack. You brought them peace they didn't know they had. You interceded for them in silence. You loved them with covering, and they spit on it. They mocked it. They mishandled it. So now they overcompensate. They laugh too loud. They show off too hard. They run into new arms trying to recreate what they destroyed. But here's the truth. You cannot recreate what God handcrafted. You can't replace peace with pleasure. You cannot silence conviction with noise. And you sure cannot outrun God by turning up your volume online. What they can't fake always finds them. That smile? It cracks when the phone turns off. That glow? It disappears when no one's watching. Because no matter what they post, they still lay down at night with the truth. They know what they lost. They'll never admit it, not to you. Not even to themselves. But they feel it. They feel it when something good happens, and it doesn't feel good enough. They feel it when they look into new eyes and see no spark, no light. They feel it when they reach for prayer and come up empty, when they try to forget you and can't. Because the truth, you were never ordinary. You were their covering. You were the grace they didn't understand. You were sent, and they mistreated what God gave them. Galatians 6 verse 7 says, "Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. A person reaps what they sow, and what they're reaping now, it's not joy, it's denial. And denial feels good for a while, until the storm comes. And when it hits, it exposes everything. God starts subtracting. Slowly, sing 2. God starts removing what they mishandled. There's this illusion that because lightning didn't strike, they got away with it. That because they betrayed, abandoned, lied, and nothing collapsed instantly. Maybe there's no consequence, but heaven works differently. God doesn't always send fire. Sometimes he sends silence. And then, subtraction. He starts removing the people, the access, the favor, not with drama, but with precision. At first, they don't notice. That's the judgment. Then doors stop opening. Relationships dry up. Opportunities vanish. It's not karma. It's God saying, you don't get to keep what you didn't honor. And the scariest part? You were the source of so much grace, they didn't even realize it. You were praying. You were covering them. They called it clingy. They called it boring. They mocked real love because they didn't recognize it. Now, God stepped back, and they're left with a mess, not just from losing you, but from losing what God was doing through you. And until there's repentance, until they admit what they lost and why, God will keep subtracting. Grace will keep drying. The echoes of you still haunt them. If you're still grieving, still hurting, breathe. You don't need to chase closure. God is showing them. Every closed door echoes your absence. Every lonely moment repeats what they threw away. You don't need to fight. You don't need to prove. You just need to heal. Because while God is subtracting from them, he's restoring you. And here's sign 3. They can't stop talking about you. Not by name, never directly, but through vague captions, poetic quotes, fake, deep reflections. You'll hear it. Fake friends, lessons learned, protecting my peace. It sounds like healing, but it's not. It's haunting. It's guilt dressed up as growth. It's echoes of you still living rent-free in their spirit. They talk in circles, but the center is still you. Sign 4. They keep running, but everything feels the same. They'll switch jobs, cities, partners, change their hair, their wardrobe, their entire identity, anything to outrun what they did. But nothing changes, because the problem isn't where they are, it's what's inside them. And no matter how many times they start fresh, the weight they carry comes too. They laugh at your stability, but now they're addicted to motion spinning through distractions that can't fill the silence. Their new life looks good on the outside, but it's made of cardboard, and cardboard can't carry what they're running from. They live in the fear that everyone else is like them, that they too will pretend, deceive, manipulate, and walk away. This is the punishment that is self-inflicted, because they know what they did when someone believed in them, and that memory is now their tormentor. They are suspicious now of kindness and sincerity because they remember how they weaponized and twisted it to their advantage. They question love, not because love failed them, but because they failed love. When you break someone who was sent by God to heal you, you mocked his very presence in someone's life who covered you in prayers and stood by your side. The aftershock is not public shame, but private. They didn't just lose you, but they lost the future version of themselves. The healed, redeemed, softer version that only existed when they were loved by someone like you. Sign 5. The mirror they can't escape. Then comes the reckoning. The moment they get treated the way they treated you. And this time, no one's covering for them. No one's sugarcoating. No one's protecting their ego. The person they're with now doesn't care enough to twist the truth. They just hurt them. Raw, direct. And for the first time, they're powerless. Not because they lost control of you, but because they lost control of the narrative. There's no story where they're the hero anymore. The pain they're in now, it's undeniable. And worse, they know why it's happening. They look at this person and see themselves, and they hate it. But more than that, they fear it. Because if they stay, they suffer. If they leave, they admit the truth. Either way, there's no undoing it. They're finally feeling the weight of their own actions. And you're gone. You're not waiting on karma. You're not watching. You're healed, held, whole. God's justice didn't need an audience. It reflected, it whispered, and it restored. They once laughed at how hard you loved. Now they cry over someone who couldn't care less. They once treated your heart like it was disposable. Now they're begging someone to stay, who won't even look them in the eye. And in the silence of that collapse, it hits. You were never the problem. They were looking in a mirror the whole time. They just didn't recognize it until now.